My life is in your hands. My life is in your hands. You took control when I was young, when I was not able. My life is in your hands. My life is in your hands. You took control when I was young, when I was not able.
Welcome to Inspired Blessings with Jean Marie Prince. And today my guest is Chris Wales, and he represents the John Birch Society. And he's going to tell us more about what that society is and why we should get involved. So thank you so much, Chris, for joining me today, and really wanting to share people what John Birch Society is about and how you got involved as well. So, what made you get involved with the John Birch Society?
Well, thanks for having me. It's really great to be here. And it took me a while to find the John Birch Society. I mean, I knew something was wrong with how our country was headed, and I checked out a few other groups um, to see if they really would match my thinking and my values, and they didn't. So I kept looking, and then I came across the John Birch Society's website, and
Mm-hmm.
I just followed it for a few months, and every time I went to read something or learn from one of their videos, it was exactly what I was thinking, and it had solutions that I was looking for. So I joined them about 5 years ago, and as a member, and I've no, actually 7 years ago, and I've been a chapter leader for 5 years. So I head the Nassau County chapter of the John Birch Society. We
Right.
cover Long Island. We have a chapter out in Suffolk, and we also have a chapter in Queens. So I'm right in the middle in Nassau.
Right. Now, is the John Birch Society also all over this country?
Yes, it is. It's a national organization, and what they do is they work at the grassroots level of having chapters all across the country in many different towns, and within a 100-mile radius, there could be two or three different chapters. We keep them small so we can be effective and stay on top of what's going on with the community, and have and educate people in that area. But it's coordinated from the headquarters, which is nationwide. So as a member, you get the New American Magazine twice a month with current stories about current issues and topics. And then you have the monthly bulletin from headquarters that gives you directions on what legislation is out there and how we should vote on it, and rally the people to either be for or against it, based on how it stands up against the constitutional values that we promote.
Right. So, if you could kind of just explain really what the point of John Birch Society is, and what's their mission and their message.
Sure. Well, our motto is uh, less government, more responsibility, and with God's help, a better world. So that tells you right there we're for limited government, because
Hmm.
in the Constitution, it's enumerated of what powers Congress has, and that's all they really have. So
Right.
the things you're seeing today are not constitutional based on what was written in that document. So our motto stresses that from the very beginning, that we want less government. And then more responsibility means personal responsibility, as well as local responsibility to your community, that we can take care of things ourselves without having the government always get involved and try to provide answers. And most of the time, they're providing answers to problems they caused.
Right.
And
Right.
then, of course, we're a Judeo-Christian based thinking in our
Hmm.
organization, since the founding fathers used that as their principles. We believe in God-given rights, and government's there to protect those God-given rights, and we're supposed to have the most personal freedom we can to be prosperous. So
Right.
the John Birch Society was actually set up as an educational organization. We're nonpartisan. We don't advocate for either party, Republican or Democrat, and we don't endorse candidates. We give you the information you need to, evaluate the candidate based on how he's voting for things based on the Constitution. And
Right.
and we back that up with a Freedom Index from the New American Magazine on their website.
Right. Can you give me like one or two things that they did that was totally illegal, unconstitutional?
You mean the government in general?
Yes, the government. Yes.
Well, we can
Let-
just start on the broader picture. Every war we've been in since World War II has been an undeclared war. Congress has not declared war, and we've gone to Korea, we've gone to Vietnam, we've been in the Middle East, and we're still involved in the Ukrainian-Russia conflict by sending billions of dollars over to the Ukrainians, which is not allowed by the Constitution, and Congress didn't declare that was a war we should be involved in. So,
Now, how
so
did
that's
these?
that right there. That's unconstitutional,
Right.
right from the get-go.
So how did they end up coming into effect if it didn't go through Congress?
Well,
President executive order? How did they do it?
well, our leaders, going all the way back to George Bush the first, he was following UN mandates. They said, well, this is a conflict that we want to try to resolve, and by their organization known as NATO, the North American Treaty Organization. But we're not beholden to the UN. We're a sovereign country with the Constitution, and the UN Charter and the UN declarations do not override the Constitution. It still has to go through Congress, but unfortunately, over the years and time, Congress has given more and more discretion to the president, and every president has, except one, has sent troops over to get involved in a war that's unconstitutional.
So I was reading on your website, and it was talking about how your society is really trying to get out of the United Nations because they're actually very, evil in the things that they having America, do.
That's correct.
Since
the founding of the John Birch Society, we have advocated to get out of the UN. Now, the UN is based in New York, ironically, so it's a half-hour drive from my house. But
right.
the UN building is on donated land, so they don't pay any taxes to New York State from the Rockefellers. They gifted that land to the UN, and they have hundreds of thousands of people and many different organizations working to bring us into more of a global scheme of things where our sovereignty is under attack. Everything from the Second Amendment, because they want to pass a small arms treaty. And President Obama had presented that for ratification. Thank goodness it didn't pass the Senate or the House. And even the current president, President Biden, he was ready to give over pandemic rules and control to the World Health Organization, run by the UN. So if you didn't like how COVID was handled the first time, can you imagine if the UN took it over completely? You'd have no freedom, and you'd be, in worse shape, and you'd have no telling how many shots you'd have in your arm by this time.
Well, there's a lot of like the UN is known as in the WHO. They're all globalists, and then,
that's correct.
Then these three-letter agencies, they're not really part of the Constitution, correct?
No, they're not.
The CIA, the FBI.
Well, I thought you were talking about the non-governmental organizations that the UN likes to use as front organizations. No, they're not part of the Constitution. However, the Department of Education is not in the Constitution. The Department of Transportation, the TSA, yes. So numerous organizations weren't initially, and to this day should not be in existence, pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into them each year to get involved things that we shouldn't be involved in. So yes, the CIA is suspect, the FBI, but that said, the FBI and the security of the United States, is something that we advocate for. So we're not saying get rid of everything. We're just saying it's supposed to be limited and used properly.
Yeah. You know, the other day I did a taping, I did a show based on the Constitution, and I took it from your website, the JBS.org,
Uh-huh.
and in which I had different people reading parts of the Constitution. And so one part that we did read was talking about how, the Constitution money is gold and silver, precious metals, and, where our fiat money really is unconstitutional. And so, Federal Reserve, can you explain who the Federal Reserve is that we think is government owned, which they're not?
Yes. Back in 1913, under FDR, there was a meeting at Jekyll Island by the prominent bankers, and they came up with an idea to create a central bank. So they originally were saying that we were trying to add stability to the economy, and because the Great Depression was coming. But 1913 is when the groundwork was laid, and they formed the Federal Reserve, and it's a private corporation of bankers that is not under the control of the United States government at all. The figurehead of the Federal Reserve, Chairman Powell, they have the president appoint him. However, he or she comes from the usual batch of banker establishments like Goldman Sachs or Merrill Lynch, or you name it, the Wall Street brokers firm, and they're
Mm-hmm.
probably linked to it. So it's the bankers taking care of the bankers' business, and by printing money and lending the government money, we actually pay them interest on that money. So the taxes that we collect aren't even going to paying for our day-to-day government uh, duties and agencies. It's going to pay the Federal Reserve Bank. So
Mm-hmm.
they set themselves up with a sweetheart deal. And there's a great book by called the Creature from Jekyll Island. It's available on the JBS website, shopjbs.org, that goes in the complete history of that meeting. And it was all done in secret. And then they presented the bill that they came up with on that island down in Georgia, Jekyll
Mm-hmm.
Island, and they got the senators to pass it. And to this day, there's rarely been any attempts to audit the Fed to see where the money actually goes. But after the 2008 economy crash of the housing market, Senator Ron Paul was able to get a partial audit of where the TARP money went, which is the Troubled Asset Relief Program money. And if you remember, it was $700 billion they asked for, and it actually turned out to be quite more than that. And there's a great chart on the Constitution is a Solution series, part 3, that shows the breakdown of who got the money, and a lot of it was foreign banks and people you would never expect in the million years that the United States government was sending tax money to. But we got a partial audit, and it just goes to show that it was basically a free-for-all, that the money was just given out hand over fist. So the Federal Reserve is not our friend. And as a matter of fact, because they printed money continuously since 2008 with that huge dump of money in the TARP program, plus all the COVID release programs, and relief programs, and as well as, I do hate to say this, but even the 9/11's, the medical bill program to pay medical bills for people that were affected by 9/11, that's just money being printed out of thin air, an unconstitutional use of our money. But it all has led to the inflation that we're facing now, because we've overprinted our currency, and when you overprint currency, it devalues the worth of the money, and everything costs more because you have less buying power. So the Federal Reserve is the direct culprit of why we're in such a bad shape with inflation right now, and it all started back in 1913.
Right. And don't forget all the money that was sent to Ukraine recently.
Yes, they're doing it now. Yes, we're even more in debt now.
Right, right, right,
But
right.
that's just, money that's being printed out of thin air. Gold and
Mm-hmm.
silver was picked because it has intrinsic value, and it's tangible, and it's an asset that you can hold and increases in value naturally without any inflation or without any prodding from outside forces.
Right,
It's material. It's what we're supposed to be using, and we were on the gold standard, and then FDR, the President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, made owning gold illegal. And then in the Nixon era, he took us off the gold standard altogether because foreign countries that had our dollars in reserve in their banks were cashing them in for gold because it was a better deal, and they were depleting our gold reserves. So President Nixon did the right thing and got us off the gold reserve altogether, but unfortunately, that just made our money now just an idea rather than a tangible asset.
yeah, it's a shame what the United States debt is at this time. And then you think about for our children, what are we leaving the generations?
Yes,
You
it's
know?
very scary in that respect because, if eggs are $5 a carton now for a dozen, when my kids get old enough and have their own family, how are you going to pay for $12 for a dozen of eggs? It's just
Right,
not feasible.
right. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just kind of show a little bit on your website so people who had no idea, what the Constitution said and things like that, I myself, was able to see. So let me just share it here, and
That,
mm-hmm,
yeah, that's an excellent speaker, and he breaks down the Constitution in six parts. Constitutional money, the War Powers Act. He explains what. Yeah, yes, this section right here. If your viewers can go to this section, this is the meat and potatoes of what we were talking about, and it's excellent to watch, and it really is easy to understand.
yeah. So this is actually the videos that you were showing that night, or this is the
That's
idea. It breaks it down
Yeah, that's correct.
right. And then you have here, you can
Yeah,
be able to then go to find out about the Bill of Rights as well. And so it breaks it down. So this is a great history lesson because I did not do well in history. And this
well,
lets you know.
you're not really to blame. You're not to blame. The schools have systematically types of civics courses being taught to our kids. So what
Hmm.
they do now is they don't even talk about American history until actually past a certain date. So you're not
Hmm.
learning about the Revolutionary War. You're not learning about our founding fathers, and they don't give them books anymore. They give them handouts with excerpts from a book. So they've really watered it down, and that's on purpose. And there's a
Hmm.
great book, called "The Crimes of the Educators" that's written by Alex Newman, and he writes for the Epoch Times, and he's
Right.
wrote an excellent book called The Crimes of the Educators that tell
You
you
have it
why
on your website here?
nobody's learning anything.
No, right.
It
But
might.
you would want to join. Where would they go onto this website? If they want.
Sorry, I don't have all this mapped out.
That's okay.
Um,
I'm clicking onto the website so people can check it out and things like that. So tell
yeah.
me, you have meetings. What is it? Once a month? How does that work?
Nationally and locally, most chapters meet once a month. We meet locally on Long Island, over in West Hempstead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Anybody that would like to find out about that meeting, we meet the third Wednesday of the month at 6:30, and they can contact me for the information where the diner is, and we meet together, talk about the current issues, and we watch some of a current video on different subjects, and we educate ourselves, and we stay motivated for the month to go out and educate our fellow citizens. And
Right.
it's actually doubly important this month because we have elections coming up on November 8th. So if you want to go see your candidate's voting record, you can go on the New American website and click on the Freedom Index and bring up your senator and see how he voted, in regards to how he's following the Constitution. So
Okay,
that's an excellent tool to keep
yeah,
people informed.
can you do me a favor? Is let me actually go to that website. Because I'm not really familiar with it myself. So what is it? New American?
Got to use the word the
Oh,
newamerican.com.
gotcha. Okay. And you know what my problem is too is sometimes it's hard for me to know who is actually running newamerican.com. New American
is an affiliate of the John Birch Society, and
Mm-hmm.
they're people that were at the forefront of getting the correct information out about the COVID shots,
Mm-hmm.
why they were considered experimental, why they were not what they promised to protect you from the disease, and and why the masks weren't really something that should have been used in the first place on our kids. So this is a source.
Well, I'm sharing it right now. Okay, so
Yes.
where would we? So I went to thenewamerican.com. Where would they?
Yeah,
actually,
right in the middle. It should say Freedom Index right in the middle of those top little banners.
Yes, I see. Okay, I'm there. So
The
you would
tabs
do what?
under New American.
Okay. Yep, I'm there. So now, how would I put in to find out who is actually running for election? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Is
I
there-
mean, it's for the governorship. We have Lee Zeldin. So
No,
if
no,
you
I
click
know
on
that.
the Freedom
But I'm
Index
just-
tab.
Yep, I'm there. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry,
But-
yeah, there you go. So the Freedom Index, and then you can type in Lee Zeldin.
Oh, okay. Right. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's do Hochul. Okay. And so what? Okay. So then click a legislator below to view their voting history and scores. So I click on her, right? Is that what I do? So, okay, so it tells me that she's been a Democrat for 26%. Okay, lifetime former legislative. Okay, and what is it saying? Good. Okay, so it lets us know how she voted. So continue appropriations resolution. So if you can kind of explain what I'm looking at here. So she voted yes. So I'm here on the website, and
Yes.
so explain to me like what I'm looking at. So it's showing you on the right-hand side how she voted, yes, no, things like that, to all these different types of bills. Right?
Yeah, and the ones in green that she got it right, and she followed the Constitution, and the ones in red are the times that she should have changed her vote to vote for the following the Constitution.
All right, so the green is yes, and the red is no. It's funny because you'd think it would be the other way around, but anyway. All right, so then here she should have voted no, and she voted yes.
Correct.
So okay, so, all right. So we'll just say out of so many, you can see that a lot more is red versus green in following the Constitution.
Right. So that's why her overall rating is 26%. So now go to Lee Zeldin.
All right, so 26%. Okay. All right, so the percentage is based on how much she voted towards the Constitution of the 26%.
Right.
Okay, so now I'm
Yeah.
going to go
So that's
here.
that's pretty low. That's
Yes,
pretty low.
it is.
So now go to Lee Zeldin.
Okay,
And
he got 64. Yeah, it's 3 times as more than she. Okay, so let's see here. So when it says none, that he just didn't vote?
Well, you know what? I haven't seen that before, but maybe the final bill hasn't been presented yet, with amendments and stuff like that. But I was going to say that the red and green still work the same way, And if you go
Mm-hmm.
up to his rating, you said he was 3 times, so 3 times 26 is, what, 66, 68% voting for the
Mm-hmm.
Constitution. So that's a pretty good score. So
Yeah.
these are the tools you could use. These are the tools you could use to help you make your decision of who to cast your ballot for.
Now, I'm looking at this one. We oppose the United States should stay clear of entangling alliances such as NATO, but also because NATO obligates the United States to go to war. So he voted yes to say we oppose it. So why would that not be with the Constitution?
My screen's a little small. Which one are you pointing to? The
I'm
red one?
pointing to this one. We oppose the United States. So it's saying we oppose, and he's saying yes, he opposes. The United States should stay clear of entangling alliances such as NATO, but also because NATO obligates the United States to go to war. And if any member of NATO is attacked, specifically under the North Atlantic Treaty that established NATO in 1949, member nations agreed that an armed attack against one or more of them shall be considered an attack against them all. This agreement undermines the provision of the United States Constitution that assigns to Congress the power to declare war. There are now 30 countries in NATO, and an attack on any one of them could pull the United States into war that neither Congress nor the American people want. So I would say that we oppose, meaning, yeah, we oppose. So he got the right answer to me, it seems like.
Well, no. You have to look at the actual name of the bill now. What did the bill say? So if he voted yes, he was agreeing that we should stay in NATO.
So we oppose, meaning New American opposes.
Yes, that's why it's in red.
Okay.
He made the wrong vote. He should have voted no.
Oh, okay. Because I'm thinking the fact that, I'm surprised that he didn't say no for that one, because we don't want to be with the globalists in all their wars.
Right. Well, that's where people like you and me, talking to our friends and neighbors with this information, you can send them a letter. Send them a letter as your constituent and said, I'm very sorry that you did vote the way you did on this bill. Please, please watch it for next time, and he'll know that he's on notice.
Right.
So, that's our goal, is to get people motivated to keep an eye on their congressman. It used to be, many years ago when my parents grew up, that we really didn't have to worry about the Congress undermining our own country and taking away our freedoms.
Right. Chris,
now, you don't know who to trust. So you're trying to get the best constitutionalists in Congress and let them do the job, and the situation can correct itself with enough people getting in Congress that understand the Constitution.
No, I agree.
Like in this case, Chris, like in this case, Lee Zeldin does 60% of the time.
Yeah, right. You know what? I'm way over my limit here of time. I didn't realize that, so I'm gonna have to close out. But thank you so much for doing this, and for letting us be aware of JBS and .org, and hopefully people will check it out. So thank you so much, and I hope you will check out the website and see what we're doing wrong in our nation, and why we're not following the Constitution the way we should, and that we should really fight for our Constitution so we could have our freedom. So thank you so much for joining us today. And if you're looking for a speaker, I'd love to share my testimony and sing some songs from my book, and be able to check out my website at gmarieprince.com, all the social media links, as well as keep inspired blessings within arm's reach to help give you comfort when others are at a loss for words. Thank you, and God bless.
God bless you. Take care.
To accept and receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, please say this prayer. I know that I am a sinner who needs forgiveness. Jesus, please forgive me for all my sins and purify me. I know that you died and rose again to pay for my sins. I need you to be my Lord and Savior for the rest of my life. Thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen. For more information about Jean Marie Prince and Inspired Blessings, please go to jeanmarieprince.com. That's JEAN.
You took control when I was young, when I was not able.